one people, one people. To the same effect is the JEEMA, that is headed by His Excellency Honorable Asuman Basalirwa. Akatala bukano za mukamanyi. We are also graced with the presence of the President and leader of PPP, Honorable Saddam Gaida. You're most welcome. We are also humbled by the presence of the Chairman of the Forum for Democratic Change, Honorable Waswa. You all know him. You're most welcome. We are equally humbled by the presence of the Lord Mayor and the Vice President of the Forum for Democratic Change. You're most welcome. We are humbled by the presence of the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, the spokesperson of the Forum for Democratic Change, the head of mobilization, NUP. We have another eminent leader, a member of us in the struggle for a very long time, an astute fellow, the Honorable Mukaku. You're most welcome. We have the Honorable Nzugu, the Deputy President of Western Uganda Forum for Democratic Change. You're most welcome. I want now to invite our speaker of, Honorable Asuman Basalirwa to take us through a prayer. You're a bit holy. I know from Kira College that you are holy, and I know that Allah, with your holiness of Kira College, will bestow upon us in these deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you very much. In honor of the Almighty, let's stand up. The Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the opportunity to converge here. We are once again gathered here for the good of our country. We know we have individual interests. We know we have individual aspirations. But we also recognize that this country is bigger than all of us, and also recognize that Uganda is here forever. Give us wisdom and guidance as we deliberate and go through today's session for the good of our country. Amen.
Because I would have been lost. I thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me straight away, in the interest of time, invite the person going to take us through the rest of this session this afternoon, and that is the very able Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda. You're most welcome.
The party presidents, our leaders in the different formations, the media, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for honoring our invitation. My colleague from NUP has given the background. We will have a joint statement that's going to be read to you, to the country through you, and then we will have the leaders of political parties and different formations making comments. We will not follow any order. We'll just invite them maybe the way they are seated. So I now want to invite on our behalf the Secretary General of National Unity Platform, who will read the statement. When he has completed reading of that statement, the leaders will sign that statement, and after that, the leaders of the different political parties and formations will make a few comments, and then will allow maybe a few questions of clarification, and then our meeting will adjourn. The president of the FDC as you are aware, left prison yesterday, but he has asked one of the deputies, the road mayor, who will be the one signing on. He will also be the one making a brief comment on behalf of the FDC. I now want to invite, we'll start with the reading of the statement by the Secretary General of NUP, and thereafter we'll be inviting our leaders to
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
With the majority of the polling stations not manned by the polling agents assigned, the regime had a field day staffing.
a man called Moses Kalangwa and other thugs took over the election. Yet again, the Electoral Commission had supplied printed ballot papers to regime operatives who transported them in vehicles without number plates. But whoever questioned the open day thuggery was quickly arrested and detained, including members of parliament and other leaders. Hundreds of people were ferried from neighboring districts participating with over 14,000 votes, and the Electoral Commission refused to avail copies of the tally sheet and the other forms relied on to declare results within the time frame within which one could lodge an election petition. Prior to the election, raiding homes of Honorable Moses Satan's polling agents and supervisors. FDC leaders, including the party president, were arrested and detained in Dokolo and other districts. The Electoral Commission yet again supplied regime operatives with printed ballot papers in favor of the NRM candidate, many of whom were caught red-handed by the ordinary people and were restrained by the police. Vehicles without number plates were deployed to transport printed ballot papers in Soroti. Every leader who dared question or deter the ongoing ballot stuffing was quickly arrested and detained. Some polling stations were closed before time and all voting materials confiscated by regime officials. At other polling stations, the residue ballot papers after voting were collected and ticked in favor of NRM Zarigo and thrown into ballot boxes. No tally sheet before the sham counting could start. At the tally center, several false results were read and no tally sheet was provided to back the results. The Electoral Commission yet again conspired with the regime to rob the people of Soroti of their victory. These are just a few of the numerous violations. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned leaders, the leaders who are here, on behalf of our respective political parties and formations, recalling the sacrifices of our people over the years, including the thousands of Ugandans who died in the war that General Museveni led, claiming to fight against election rigging, do hereby make it clear that we shall not watch on as General Museveni, aided by the Wakama, Nabanja, Todong, Tango Doi, and their ilk, to continue to hijack the will of the people with impunity. The what can they do attitude must stop. Elections must be free and fair, short of which they are not fit to be called elections. Going forward, we shall jointly or severally use any upcoming elections to organize and rally the population to defend their democratic rights and end the election madness that has bedeviled our country since independence. The current mega socio-economic crisis is directly related to the population having no say on how their country and her resources are managed. It is therefore urgent for the country to focus on how to get out of the current crisis and to pursue a transition to an inclusive and democratic dispensation. I thank you very much.
Thank you, the Secretary General of NUP. We will now have the leaders signing the joint statement. We will have this statement signed. There are enough copies, and then we will get the party leaders to sign each of those papers that will be circulated, and then we will make copies and distribute to the media. So right now we'll be witnessing the signing. So each leader will sign, and then they will keep exchanging and signing. So when that has concluded, I will then invite the leaders to make comments. I want to welcome the Speaker of Kampala City, who is also with us here. So the next activity will happen after the signing, which is now taking place. I think we are just 1 minute away from concluding the signing. It appears to me that the signing has been completed. We will make copies and distribute to you, the media, after the briefing. And I'm going to start from my right. We will have the FDC making brief comments. May I now invite the FDC Deputy President, but also at this function, acting as the president. We have two vice presidents here, Yoweri, and I want to invite the FDC chairman. The three of them will come here, and on behalf of the party, the Lord Mayor will make the FDC deputy president will make very brief comments, and then we'll be inviting the rest of the party leaders. So can we have the FDC?
Before you, members of the press, the leadership of the FDC already introduced to you the national chairman, Ambassador Birigwa, and also the Deputy President, Western Region, the Honorable Nzo, and myself, Deputy President. You are informed. Our party president was arrested and detained in Dokoro. Was not able to make it to this meeting today. But our position is very clear on elections in this country. They are fraudulent. They are a mockery of democracy. What we have just witnessed in Soroti is despicable. On the eve of the elections, over 100 leaders and agents who had been deployed to man the electoral process were arrested, detained in various detention centers. Some were detained as far as Dokoro, including the party president, and the others were taken to Bukedia. Quite a number of honorable members of parliament, including the Honorable Nzo here, he was also arrested, and a couple of others. No offense had been committed by these leaders, and indeed there are no charges that were preferred against them. On the voting day, it was mayhem. It was thuggery, nothing else. And what happened? They raided various polling stations. In some polling stations, there was open bribery at polling stations. And also, members agents were picked. They could not witness what had happened. And you can imagine they were returned to the polling centers after the conclusion of the exercise, only to sign declaration of results forms. And as we have heard from the statement that has been read before you, at some polling station, the residue materials were pre-ticked, were ticked in favor of Wariko. and stuffed in the ballot boxes. And lots of dirty things happened. Of course, in total violation of the electoral laws, the criminality that was committed was done before cameras. Some of you witnessed what happened. Even the pre-ticked ballot papers, you all captured them on your screen, on your cameras. And there was no shame at all on the part of the regime to orchestrate this broad day thuggery. And we roundly reject the results of that election. It does not reflect the will of the people of Soroti East. It does not in any way meet the tenets, the standards set in the Constitution. And as we said earlier on, it's nothing else but a mockery of democracy. Going forward, we insist that the provisions of Article 3 give us a clear position, way forward on what we should be doing. Article 3 provides that whoever derogates from the provisions of the Constitution, whether they are in state power or not, they commit treason. So we state in no uncertain terms that what happened in Soroti is treasonable. All those agents of the regime, starting with Museveni himself, because he was the mastermind behind this, coming to Nabanja, the Prime Minister, and many others, the Tango Dois, the Mukuras, and whoever, they committed treason. And once you commit treason, it's incumbent upon Ugandans to rise to the occasion. Because there is a command that we have always cited in the provisions of the Constitution. That command under Article 3, that the duty rests with Ugandans to stand up and deal with that kind of buffoonery. So it's up to now the people of Uganda. And as the FDC, we make a commitment to work hand in hand with our brothers and sisters in all the party formations that have committed themselves in this instrument to do whatever within our means under the provisions of Article 3 of the Constitution to defend the will of the people. It's important because the cornerstone of democracy, the cornerstone of constitutionalism is upholding the will of the people. So electoral exercises which do not reflect the will of the people are a farce, are a mockery of democracy. So this was a sham exercise, and the trail of that has been happening, as you were told. It happened in Omoro, happened in Kayunga, and we have not been in any way helped by the institutions that are supposed to dispense justice. I will specifically talk about, as I conclude, what happened in the case of Nakwede. It is horrible. And it was well orchestrated. The case which was filed, the papers were duly submitted before court, the pleadings, and the registrar took his time to sign on the notice of presentation of the petition. And the law requires that the notice of presentation of petition shall be served together with the petition. Now the registrar took his time. I think after filing the petition, he did not sign the notice of presentation of petition. He waited until after 4 days. And when you count the days, the 7 days provided for in the law, the service was done within time. Because he indicated the day when he signed, when he appended his signature on the notice of presentation of the petition. But the judge dismissed it on technicalities
that service was done out of time. You can see how the judicial has also been drafted into this network, this racket of thuggery. And a couple of other cases we can cite. So we can't stand this. We are saying going forward in the ongoing election cycles, it's not going to be business as usual. And we want Ugandans to embrace this message. We are committed here to working together as a team, as a formidable team, because we stand on the right side of the Constitution. We are the Constitution of this Republic of Uganda is on our side. And we invite Ugandans to firmly stand with us, and all of us who are before you here, we want to speak with one voice, we want to sing in unison that enough is enough, and we must deal with this buffoonery, with this thuggery, with this madness, with this nonsense as a united front. So we are really committed as the FDC in all aspects to deal with this madness. The Constitution should reign supreme. Invite the respective supporters of this commission, the members of FDC, the members of JEEMA, PPP, and all other stakeholders. Let's bury our differences and let's do this country from the precipice. Let's do this country from the cliff. We are sitting on a time bomb as a nation. Unless we come together and deal with this madness, the junta will always go away with their factory. And with those remarks, I would like to reiterate our commitment to dealing with this nonsense as a united front. May God bless you. I thank you. In less than a minute, bagambye okuvundula mu bibi. Nti sijja kuddamu bingi naye ekiriwo mu ggwanga tewakyali kulonda kati mwami Yoweri Museveni akola byayagala era ensonyi zonna bazinaabye kati byabadde bakola mu nkukutu nga basitaafinga obululu ekiro bagezaako okuyisa wano ne wali ne babuzaabuza kati babikola mu misana gwaka mu ngeri ya kinanjo kya nkimize ayagala kyoyagala okukola kikole kati bakyabikkako n'akamu era bw'oba wabaddeyo akakyalimu akakunkuna Museveni yalagidde ddala nti kati okulonda asalawo gwayagala ekyabadde Soroti baakutte ba agents ne ba leaders ne party president o FDC ne bamutwala ne bamusibira eddokolo paka ludaku lwajjo abakulembeze ne ba agents abasuka mu 10 polling stations ziri 63 abo bebaakutte babadde basobola ozimaaninga bulungi naye buli gwabadde balaba nti ajja kulwanyisa obubbi nga bakwata bukwasiga basiba tewalina misango gye babaguddeko balina polling stations ezimu ng'otatayi aminiti we baatuuse nga materials okulonda kuwedde naye nga waliwo bino ballot paper bwe basigaddewo ne babukwata bonna ne babutiikingira aliko ne babuteekamu wali ne babala ba agents babakwata ne babatwala ne babasiba naye we babakomyawo olw'eggulu abamu nga bagamba kati mwe mujje musayininga DR forms ku kifuba ku mudumu gwa mundu ne babazaayo mukomera kakati eryo lyonna effujjo lye baakoze abo bannabbanja abatanga odoyi baani busemateeka liraga nti baba baziiza omusango ogwa Nagomera gwe bayita treason. Soma article 3 bw'omenya ssemateeka n'okola effujjo erifaana oba omenye oba oziiza omusango ogwa Nagomera. Era ssemateeka mu nnyingo ey'okusatu akiteeka ku bannayuganda bonna nti bwe mulabanga omuntu alwanyisiza ssemateeka ng'aleesewo effujjo nga lye baakola baze bakola mu kulonda kuno muyina omuwaŋŋanga ng'amateeka bwe galagira. So n'olw'ensonga eyo fe ng'aba FDC tuli beeteefuteefu era tuli wano okukakasa eggwanga nti tukwataganye ne bannaffe ab'ebibiina ebirala byonna mugenda mu maaso okulwanagana ne mwami Yoweri Museveni obutakyusa wiru y'abantu. Era ekyo tweyama nti ssemateeka kitukakatako era nga tusaba nti mwenna abali eyo abatuwagira bammemba b'ekibiina kyaffe ekya FDC, bammemba b'ekibiina ekya NUP, ekya JEEMA, ekya PPP n'abalala mwenna abannayuganda n'oba toli mu kibiina, tuleke okulumaŋŋana twaŋŋange n'akyemalira nga tuli kitole, nga tugenda mu kalulu kano obululu bwonna obuddako naye tumwaŋŋange nga tuli kitole. So tuli wano okweyama ffe tuli redde okukola omulimu ogwo okulwanyisa n'akyemalira. Mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala.
Thank you very much. That was the FDC. I said I will follow the order from my right. I want to invite our elder, who is also leading the Red Card movement, as you all know, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, to give his brief comments. The request of the media is that when you finish the English version, you make you summarize in Uganda. That is the request from the media. May I now invite Dr. Besigye and members of
A very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I think what we are doing here today, first of all, of course, as you realize, this is mainly an engagement of political parties, because political parties are the ones that go to elections. I am not leading a political party, and so I am not leading to the elections. And therefore my position is slightly different from theirs. But what we are dealing with here today is a very, very fundamental element of how this country will proceed. And I just want to make 3 points on that, in that regard. First is that we are making this statement when our country, Uganda, is in the middle of one of the worst social economic crises that our country has faced. Every person almost, save for those whom we are united to work against, and they are a handful of people, every other citizen is in crisis of survival. In fact, we characterized the crisis in the country as a crisis of failure to thrive. Failure to thrive. An FTT crisis. That's the crisis in which our country is found today. Now, this crisis is a result, a direct result. It's an economic crisis, it's a social crisis, but the cause of the crisis is political. And the political cause to the crisis is what we are dealing with today. The fact that the people who live in this country, the greatest majority of the people who live in this country have no say in their country. That is where the socio-economic crisis comes from. That we are in a country where we have no say. We are taxed. We don't have a say as to what will happen to our money. Our wealth, which we had collected and was being managed collectively as our wealth, was all taken away by this handful of people. As we watched the national wealth in terms of public assets that Uganda had in 1986, public assets, all public assets were privatized to these individuals who are holding the country captive. And whatever else we produce, they use as they want. We have no say. That's where this crisis comes from. Having a country of people without a say on how their country is managed or how their wealth is managed. That's why people have been crying in this current budget that as people are starving, they have appropriated nearly 2 billion shillings to be spent in one family of Mr. and Mrs. Museveni. They can spend all the money they want as the rest starve. And Museveni will shamelessly come and say, there is nothing to do, just tighten your belts. For him, he's not entitled to have a belt. He doesn't need any belt. It's you to tighten your belts. So that is the cause of the crisis. Having no voice, living in a country without voice, having people without power. So the struggle that the country must undertake is to regain power, to regain influence in the country. That's the struggle, to shift power from those who captured it to those who don't have it. It's a power shift. Now, so the last point I want to make is how does that power shift from those who captured it to those who are now victims of powerlessness? How does the power shift? Will it shift by those who captured us organizing elections and that we come and vote and they say, okay, now you have power, you can now take over the country? It won't happen. And that's what we are confirming today, that the elections in and of themselves will not shift power from those who captured it with the guns to the people of Uganda. It will not shift it. Or what now I hear our brother who has just defected from us, if he was with us, the now Minister Norbert Mao, that he has gone to lead a process for dialogue to have reforms in the country. That is why he has gone to organize a dialogue so that there are reforms in the country. How will those reforms return the power? Even if you organize the dialogue and the reforms are actually done, let's suppose he has been successful. He has organized the dialogue, the reforms have been done. How will the reforms return the power? Because you heard from Momolodi that all the things that were done in all these by-elections, Kayunga, Omoro, Soroti, were all illegal. They were all unconstitutional. You know? It's not that there is a bad constitution or there are bad laws. No. It's that there is impunity. Those with the power override whatever law is there. They do what they want. So if you change the law, who will make sure that that law actually is respected? How? How will the laws be respected? How can the Constitution be respected? So dialogue, while power remains controlled by those who captured it by force, will not shift that power to those who don't have it. You can change the laws, you can change the Constitution even, you can change all, but who will respect them? And whenever they want to change the Constitution anywhere at any stage, they can change it again, as they have been doing. So, the way to get back our power is to unite all of us and the population to be rallied together. And once that happens, and I am very excited that I can see it now beginning to happen, I can see it happen. Even if it was tomorrow, if we said tomorrow, let all of us do this, this regime has absolutely no capacity to stop it. No, nothing. They have no capacity. So the people must reclaim their power by action. They must take the actions that gave them back their power. And this statement we are signing today, I am very glad is saying that. That we shall not go to lament that our people have been arrested. Oh, now what can we do? Now they have stopped the ballot papers. No. That we are now all going to organize. First of all, give the message to the people that it is us to ensure our own freedom. And once they get the message, we organize them to now move to take actions that will ensure their rights are respected. Not asking to serve our government to yambe. We are not going to ask. Government is our servant, must become our servant. We cannot be our master that we are begging it, asking it. No. So I am very, very excited this afternoon that we are witnessing all patriots. These are the patriots, people who care for the country, not thieves calling themselves patriots. Like the other day you saw Mr. Museveni in uniform, and he put on that uniform to send a message to frighten people in the uniform on the eve of elections, saying, I am going to kill anybody who disturbs peace. And later on he said, you know, I am the patriot. He's a patriot of starving Ugandans. How can you call yourself a patriot who has been in charge of a country 37 years and the people are being buried for lack of food? How can you be a patriot? So thank you, patriots, for this today. And Mufunze, siri musanyufu okuba nti tutwala ekiseera kinene nnyo nga tuvunula bye twayogedde mu Lungereza tubiteeka mu nnimi endala, kubanga nammwe ogwo gwe mwandu gutusonyiweeko ne mugukola. Yes, and our time is of essence, you know. So when njogera mu Luganda vunula oteeke mu Lungereza, when njogera mu Lungereza teeka mu Luganda, nga bwe tukola emirimu emirala. nayogedde ensonga ssatu. Ekisooka nti embeera embi ennyo etalabikangako mu ggwanga lyaffe eri mu bantu baffe olwaleero bonna, embeera y'obuteesobozesa kweyimirizaawo ng'omuntu. Bannayuganda bonna teri akyasobola kweyimirizaawo, teri akyasobola kwefunira mmere n'afuna ebikozesebwa awaka ne yeeyimirizaawo. Embeera eyo ffenna gye tulimu olwaleero ekigireese mbeera ya byanfuna, mbeera bya buweereza, nti mu malwaliro temuli malagala, abaana ku ssomero babazizaayo waka n'ekiseera ky'okuwumula nga tekinatuuka kubanga tebakyasobola kubalabirira mu masomero. Embeera y'obuweereza n'ebyenfuna eva mu byobufuzi, teyereese yekka, eva mu byobufuzi. Ebyobufuzi ebigamba nti bannansi abo abali mu mbeera y'akatyabaga gye tulimu olwaleero nti tebalina ddoboozi mu ggwanga lyabwe. N'olwekyo ebyobugagga bw'eggwanga tebibakolera kubanga tebalina ddoboozi. Ebyasangibwawo nga twali twabikuŋŋaanya ng'ebyobugagga bwaffe obwawamu mu 86 Mwami Museveni we yayingirira mu gavumenti, bye yasangawo nga tukuŋŋaanyizza ebyawamu. Sente zaali mu Commercial Bank, Uganda Commercial Bank, Cooperative Bank, simanyi biki, Uganda Railways, simanyi Uganda Airlines, simanyi Uganda Hotels, simanyi biki, bye twali tukuŋŋaanyiza byonna babigabana abatono ne babitwala. Kati sente ze batusoloozaamu ku mmundu era kubanga tetulina ddoboozi erigamba nti otuggyemu nnyingi, oba erigamba nti z'otutte zo zigenda kutukolera ki. Batwala ne bakozesa nga bwe bakola ki, nga bwe baagala. So omutawaana gwe tuwangaliramu olwaleero guva mu byabufuzi eby'abantu mu ggwanga batalina ddoboozi. Ekituleese wano kye tukola kwe kugonjoola embeera eyo kubanga batalina ddoboozi. Bava batya mu butabeera na ddoboozi ne balifuna. Bw'oba toyina buyinza ova otya mu mbeera y'obutabeera na buyinza n'obufuna. Oyo yabukuwambako asobola kukutegekera akalulu akakuwa obuyinza bumuveeko bugende gy'oli nga yabuwamba buwambi. Kye babadde batulaga mu kulonda kwonna kwe tuyiseemu, babadde batulaga nti obuyinza obusalirawo eggwanga lino ffe tubuyina, ffe tusalawo ani anaasalirawo eggwanga, si mmwe. Kye babadde batulaga, abantu ne bakuba akalulu n'okukakuuma ne bakakuuma n'ebivuddemu ne birabika ne bagamba nti ne balangirira ebirala. Kati gwe kola ky'oyagala. Bw'oddukira mu kooti ekivaayo kyekyo omuloodi kyayogeddeko nti ne kooti nazo ziri mu buwambe. Ate babiwamba tulaba. Kooti amagye gagirumba misana ttuku. Kooti gye tuddukiramu Black Mamba zagirumba ne zigisaanyaawo nga tulaba misana. Palamenti gye tuwoza tulina palamenti, amagye gagirumba ne gagiwamba nga tulaba misana. Abamu bakyali ku migo abakubibwa mu palamenti ne bamenyeko emigongo. So bakulaga nti temuyina buyinza, ffe tubasalirawo. Kati bye bazze batulaga mu kalulu konna bwe tugendamu kye bagezaako okutulaga. Bwe balaba kubanga baagala ensonga lwaki bategeka akalulu, baagala kweraga eri wabweru nti nabo bayise mu mbeera y'akalulu. So kati basobola okusalawo ako mukabalekera ako nakali ako mukabawe basobole okugamba nti tutegeka obululu ate nga mwemuli mu palamenti, nammwe ndaba mwemuli. Kati bwe tubawangula lwe mukaayana, bwe muwangula temukaayana, naye nga temwawa simu be bakkiriza nti ako kabakatwale nakali kabakatwale. So ffe tulowooza era nga kyetukunganiddeko olwaleero nti akalulu tetujja kukiriza kagende mu maaso bwe katyo nga balimba nsi yaffe na balimba n'ab'ebweru. Tetujja kusigala nga tukola nga bye tubadde tukola. Batubbye babakutte munnange. Tetujja kugenda mu kalulu kulajjana. Bwe tuba tugenze mu kalulu tugenda kubuulira abantu abali era baagala enkyukakyuka beekolemu omulimu okulaba nti obuyinza bwabwe babulwanirira mu kalulu kennya. Kyetulaga ate abantu bwe tubanga twegasse ne tugamba ensi yonna nti enkya kino kye kirina okutambula ffenna ne tukyegatiramu ne kitambula, Mwami Museveni waakoma. Teri maanyi gasobola ne bw'aba n'emmundu ezifaanana zitya n'ebimotoka nga tusazeewo eggwanga lyonna ne tusalawo nti tetukyatambula na kino tukiyimirizza, kijja kuyimirira. N'olwekyo ndowooza enneetegeka yeetambule tulabe, kubanga bw'obba akalulu tobba abantu basigalawo. Abantu be mwalaba ensolo tibali bonna, be mwalaba gye bali ye tayinaayo. So bwe tugamba nti soloti eyimirire ejja kukola ki? Ejja kuyimirira kubanga bagireka ng'etambula tabayina. Ate n'abo baabalanga ababe lwakuba bakyamulaba nga yayina ensawo omusobola okuva ensako gye bajjamu ak'okulya. Naye bwe balaba nga n'ekyo takyakisobola teri ajja kumubeerako. So tuli basanyufu nti olwaleero bannayuganda ffenna bandowooza zonna tuggyeyo eddoboozi nti tutambulire wamu, tusooke tulabe nti bannayuganda obuyinza bwabwe bubaddidde. Kati bwaba n'obuyinza bwe basobola okusalawo abaagala okuwagira nkola ki oba nkola ki, bwe tusobola okufuna akalulu ak'amazima abantu nga bamaze okufuna obuyinza. So mbeebaza mwenna abatambuzizza endowooza eno, ate ndowooza twebaze oba oliawo n'akeeyongerayo muganda wange Robert Kyagulanyi, kubanga ye yagambye kwe twavudde esoloti n'agamba nti bannange kati kiyitiridde, twekolemu ki? Twekolemu omulimu. Of course ffe nga bwe mbagambye ebyebibiina twali twabiteeka dda bbali, ffe tubadde olwedde tukola ki? Olwedde tubadde tutambula, kujjako nti babadde bantwala ne munnange ono yekka, oba oliawo kati bajja kututwala ffenna ekintu kirabike bulungi. Kale mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala, katulabe ebinaddako.
Simanyi oba ne MC naye avunula mu Uganda. Thank you very much, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye. I now have the pleasure to invite the President of National Unity Platform to make his comments.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sibo. Thank you very much, Comrade Dr. Besigye and other leaders that have addressed us today. No, Dr. Besigye, alina kyabadde asabye ate kyandinkoledde. Abadde agambye twogere mu lulimi lumu mwe mubikyuse. Kati nandyogedde mu Luganda, eby'Oluzungu ne mubikyusa. But for the importance of conveying this message, I'll also use both languages. Most has been said. I cannot overemphasize the words of our brother, the Lord Mayor, Erias Lukwago. I certainly cannot overemphasize the words of Dr. Besigye. That's exactly the truth and more. Where we are, ladies and gentlemen, we all see. We cannot pretend not to see. We cannot pretend not to see that Museveni organizes elections, but in real sense organizes a fight where he's over-equipped and we are zero-equipped. You saw the general elections of 2021. You saw Kayunga, you saw Omoro, now you've seen Soroti and many other places. Many times when we just go into elections, get out of that crazy election only to go into another without anything, gives the wrongest message to our people. In many ways, we tend to legitimize those elections. When we leave Kayunga just into another election, even when the Kayunga election has been a bogus one, we tend to fit into Museveni's narrative. However, we've always agreed that we go into these elections, as rallying platforms. However, when things come in certain ways, we have to think in certain ways as well, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having heard from my fellow leaders, I just want to send messages to two types of people, maybe three. First, I want to send a message to my fellow leaders. Leaders from different political parties, different formations, from different levels. Number one, I think a time has come for us to change our gospel, for us to change our message and be more realistic to the electorate. We go into the election promising change, even at MP level, even when we know that when one becomes an MP under the Museveni regime, apart from agitating, apart from using the parliamentary platform, we can change very little. Therefore, it's my considered view that our message should be more of a revolutionary message. Whether campaigning for MP or even for LC1, the main agenda should be using that election, one, to sensitize people, but to also make that election, no matter how small it is, a spark to chase the junta. I think the election should be more for sensitization than for winning. In any case, we know that Museveni decides days, sometimes months before the election, who the winner will be. So let's go into these elections, not looking at them as normal elections, because they are not normal elections. When you're going to an election, let the people know, let our supporters and voters and followers know what exactly we're going into, so that when they come from that election, whatever comes from that election, we have taken another step towards our liberation. Number two, let us try as much as possible to make that particular election a spark. Museveni is making mistakes all the time. So don't go to an election only looking for a win and walking away from there. Let's go tugende mu kulondo konga tugenze kuzoganya. Because that is the reality of it. Let us try to go into every election knowing that that particular election, wherever it is, can be a spark that chases Museveni away. Let us remember the Arua election. I mean, we go to elections now. They arrest our leaders. They kill some of our people. We don't do nothing. That should challenge us as leaders to think of what next. And third and most important message to the leaders, friends, let us unite. Let us unite in the real sense of unity. And this message doesn't only go to leaders at presidential or MP levels, but at all levels. You notice, friends, that we have made it easy for Museveni by fighting each other. We have changed our targets from the enemy to each other. And it's unfortunate that even those that work closely with us are not making it easy for us to come together. Now, this country is bigger than our political parties. And the mission is bigger than building our political parties. In any case, one would rightly argue that there are no political parties in Uganda because we don't operate like political parties. Political parties are recognized in a democracy. But in a country where you cannot even organize as a political party, then we cannot boast of being political parties. Therefore, we are all slaves. And the more we fight against each other, is the more we prolong it for Museveni. I'll mention that many of us leaders are working closely to each other, but you, our followers, you, our supporters, and you, our fellow leaders, especially those below us, are making it easy for us to unite and therefore unite you as well. For example, I might have a very good communication line with the Dr. Besigye, with the Honorable Lukwago, with the Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, but again, those under me might undermine the same. And the same thing also applies to the other side. You know, I might be relating very well to with Dr. Besigye. You don't know how many times we have a coffee, how many times we discuss. But the more that I hear negativity from his side, or he hears negativity from my side, it even creates that suspicion. And friends, please make it easy for us to work together. Now, my second and final message goes to the people of Uganda. We leaders have united, or at least have made an effort to unite for a common cause. But we are only leaders, and if you don't follow us where we go and where we show you, we won't succeed. So please get involved. Number one, fellow Ugandans, and this includes supporters, voters, even we the leaders, because we are also Ugandans. We are on our own, you are on your own. Therefore, get involved. Don't depend on only leaders, don't depend on only politicians. You've seen politicians sell out. Now think about those who are following Mao. So don't over-depend on just the politicians. I want to believe that most of Ugandans know now where we want to go. Play a role, lead from wherever angle, from whatever position you are. Lead your people to where you want them to go. We encourage you to rise up. And on this note, I want to salute the people of Jinja, the people of Eastern Uganda, the people of Busoga, thank you. Rise up, especially non-violently. Protest. Protest. Dictators only listen to protests. Don't give up, my friends, because non-violent protests work. The reason why Museveni will come to you with all manner of ammunition, with all manner of weapons, because he knows that's what dropped all the dictators before him. You saw it happened in Sudan. Recently it happened in Sri Lanka. So let us rise, friends. You Ugandans, you have a big role to play in this. Do not give up. Continue protesting. I encourage it. I know that whenever the people of Uganda realistically threaten Museveni, that's when he comes out with brute force. But continue shaking him, continue shaking him. He's not as firm as he used to be, and we won't be as firm tomorrow as he is now. So continue shaking him. Last but not least, I want to remind you, friends, that much as there are political parties, the original inspiration, at least to myself and my team, was the people power, was the power of the people. People power means you. When you go to elections and you're frustrated, at least you know you have the power. Organize, organize, organize. Connect with all like minds. The biggest objective is to drop Museveni. These other, intentions are smaller. One might want to become MP. You come from that election, they become MP, they become mayor. But for as long as Museveni is president, we are still in trouble. So let's pursue the common agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I always hasten to mention that we are non-violent. We do not promote violence. However, I know that there will come a time when we cannot stop even those violent ones. Okay? The Constitution commands us to defend it. The Musevenis, when they were younger, they picked up guns. Do they think people can't pick up guns? So we might not be encouraging people to pick up guns, but again, we're losing the moral authority to stop whoever wants to do whatever. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to call upon all Ugandans, whether you're a political leader, religious leader, traditional cultural leader, etc., stand on the right side of history. We have seen not only politicians selling their souls, we've also seen religious leaders, we've seen traditional leaders, but the people are watching, the people are supreme, and at the end of the day, you'll end up in the dustbin of history. Museveni has already wasted it. So don't follow the corpse to the grave. Lwaki oluzungu sirukomyawo? Kambidde mu Luganda mpola mpola. Okusooka nja kwebaza abakulembeze bannaffe olw'okubeera naffe leero nga twogerako eri eggwanga. Ebisinga byogeddwa era sibiwakanya, binkiikirira bulungi nnyo, wabula nze obubaka bwange bwa mirundi ebiri. Obusooka bugenda eri bakulembeze bannange. Oluvannyuma lw'okutunuulira okulonda kuno okutegekebwa nga kubanga kwa kuwuddisa abantu, kubaziba amaaso, tugenda mu kulonda naye nga Museveni yasazeewo dda wiiki nnyingi oba mwezi oba myezi ani agenda okulonda. Ne tugenda mu kalulu, abantu ne bajoogebwa, eddoboozi ly'abantu ne livulugibwa, naye ate ne tuvayo ne tugenda bugenzi mu kalulu kalala. Kibanga ekigamba nti tuzze wano ne Museveni alage naddala amawanga agavugirira Uganda ssente nti okulonda kubaddewo era awangudde. Era twayogeddemu ne bakulembeze bannange ne tugamba ekyo tekigenda kugenda maaso bwe kityo, eyo sigi yegenda okubeera emaanya y'enkoko. N'olw'ensonga eyo obubaka bwange nga nze eri bakulembeze bannange buli nti bwe tuba tugenda mu kulonda tukyuse enjiri yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda, tukyuse message yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda. Abantu baleme genda mu kulonda nga basuubira nti tugenda kulonda kati omuntu atuyambe. In any case tine bwe baba balangilidde oyo gwe bagadde okulangirira ng'ali ku ludda lwaffe, kitono kyasobola okukyusa Museveni bw'aba nga yakyatufu tubaddeko. N'olw'ensonga eyo tugende nga mu kulonda, bwe tuba tugenze mu kulonda tugende mu kulonda nga tumanyi nti tugenze mu lutalo, nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuzoganya, era nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuwagala abantu. Tugende mu kulonda nga tunuulidde bintu bingi, naye okusingira ddala okulonda okwo kuyinza okubeera emmanduso egenda okutwala Museveni. Kuba buli kulonda Museveni akola ebyobuswavu bingi nnyo, buli kulonda Museveni amenya amateeka mangi nnyo, ajooga bannayuganda bangi nnyo. Ekyennaku abantu ne basigala nga tebalina kye bakoze kusinziira ku kye baba balina okukola n'okusinziira ku joogo lye baba bataddeko. Ekirala ekyokusatu, njagala obbasaba bakulembeze bannange tukwatagane, tukolagane, kubanga tulina ebitugatta bingi okusinga ebitwawula. Naye ate nga n'ekitugattira ddala ekisinga obukulu, ekisinga byonna kyekyokuba nti ffenna tuyibasibe, ffenna twagala kujjako Museveni. Tuyinza ogenda mu kulonda nga tuli babibiina bya njawulo ne tulumagana, okwawukana mu bibiina oba okwawukana mu bakandideti, ne kijjawo ekifaananyi ekikulu, ne kijjawo mission enkulu. Ye Museveni kiba kimukolera. Nkiraba ebiseera bingi mufa abakulembeze naddala abo abali wansi waffe ne mubawagizi baffe nga ne bwe tugezaako okukwatagana bo tekibakolera. Njagala obbategeeza nti buli tulumagana tuba tuyamba Museveni. Tetwetaaga kuba ba mukwano, tetwetaaga kuba nga tukubiragana essimu, naye ate era tetwetaaga kulwanagana kuba Museveni ayagala nga tulwanagana. In fact ajja kuinvestinga kyamaanyi nnyo okulaba nga ateekawo okubagana wakati waffe kubanga kitusala speed. Ffe abakulembeze tuyinza okuba tukwatagana. For example nkyogeddeko mu luzungu wano nti olumu tukyaliragana n'abakulembeze, naye ate mmwe bannange bakulembeze bannaffe naddala abatuli wansi mukifuula kizibu ffe okukwatagana, mukifuula kizibu ffe okukolagana. Buli otekinga step okolagana, ebigambo ebiba gye muli birina kubanga bituencouraginga nti ekyo kyemukola kituufu kubanga kituufu. Nate bwe tukwatagana ate mwe ne mulufuula lutalo wakati wammwe mubiba mu bikalu bya bannange, muba mutulemesa. Ffe tumanyira okwekubira kasimu ne tunywa ne kacaayi, ne kati gwe kuba akafaananyi ng'oli wa NUP mbadde ne Dr. Besigye ate ng'amanyi nti oli ttaano wange, naye naalaba ate ng'owandiise booti olowooza tabatanneekengere abaffe gwe kuba kafaananyi nti nookola naye ne tukwatagana naye naye ate nendaba ng'obubaka obuvudde gy'oli buli negative mbasigenda mwekengera n'olw'ensonga eyo mukutukaluubiriza bannange mutugondeze okukwatagana kubanga mulwisa okununula kwa Uganda. Obubaka bwange obusembayo nja busindika eri bannayuganda. Okusookera ddala mujjukire nti muli ku lwammwe mulekerawo okwesiga okulonda kwokka kuba okulonda kwokka tekugenda bayamba. Elections alone will not help you. Our recent history has shown us. So tulina ogenda mu kulonda nga tulina ebirowoozo eby'enjawulo. Mumanye nti tujjeeyo okulonda tuba tuzze bagatta, tuba tuzze kubawagala. Okusingira ddala okulonda tulina okugenda mu kulonda nga tugenze kuzoganya. Tetukyanguyiza Museveni kubeera nti tuvudde mu kulonda ate ne tudda mu kulala bwe tutyo. Ffe nga ffe ekyatuleeta mu byobukulembeze twajja kusitula amaanyi g'abantu kye twayita people power. Naye people power yemmwe ffe nga abakulembeze tusobola okulaba ekkubo ne tulikwata namwe ne tubayita, naye ate bwe mutatugoberera kwata kkubo eryo tuba tetukola ki tetujja kumalako. N'olw'ensonga eyo bannange bwe tubasongeranga awantu mukole ekyetaagisa. Ekirala nja kubasaba musitukiremu buli we musobola. Buli wava message oba evudde wange oba evudde wani kaseba nga message yakuzoganya Museveni kumujjako mujettanire musitukiremu. Mumbeera eno njagala n'okwebaza abaana b'ebusoga, abaana b'ejjinja mwebale nnyo okwebereramu. Eyo ngeri yokka esobola okujjako Museveni. Kale nammwe bwe mulabanga bannammwe nga basituse oba baluwa bwe basituse Uganda yonna esituke, oba b'Ebuganda bwe basituse Uganda yonna esituse, oba b'Ekabala bwe basituse mwenna musituke. Yengeri yokka gye tugenda okusobola okutaasa eggwanga lyaffe. Ensonga lwaki Museveni ajjayo ettemu n'atemula abantu kubanga munnange akimanyi nti eyo engeri yokka bannakyemalira gye bagenda. Yengeri yokka bannakyemalira w'e Sudan gy'agenze, yengeri yokka nakyemalira w'e Sri Lanka gy'agenze. N'olw'ensonga eyo bwe mulabanga bannammwe bayimukiddemu nammwe musitukiremu basebo ne bannyabo. Nja kumaliriza nga mbasaba kubanga kukubadde okusaba kwaffe. Bwe muba mwekalakaase mu ddembe. Bwe muba mwekalakaasa temukola fujjo. Ffe y'enkola yaffe. Tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa. Nkiddamu tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa. Era tubakunga mwenna buli alina omukisa yekalakaase mu ddembe. Nera tubategeeza ne gavumenti eyo tugitegeeza nti wadde ffe abantu bagamba kwekalakaasa mu ddembe tumanyi nti ekiseera kijja kutuuka nga abantu bakooye bekalakaase mu neekalakaasa yonna yonna ng'etaddeko n'eri eya kaali. Museveni bekalakaasa na mmundu. N'olw'ensonga eyo kiyamba mwami Museveni ne gavumenti ye obutasindikiriza abantu ku levo ya kwekalakaasa na mmundu. Maliriza ng'era nkunga bannayuganda mwenna muorganizinge mu mbeera yammwe, oba muli mu kibiina kyammwe kya byabufuzi oba temuli pate kuba bangi nnyo tebali pate. Naffe aba NUP twasooka kubeera people power era njagala nnyo bwe tuba tukola ebintu tobikola just nga wa kibiina kyo. Bwe tuba twagala okujjako Museveni ebyafaayo byonna bitulaga nti tewali kibiina, era twakyogerako nti tewali kibiina kyonna kigenda kujjako nakyemalira nga kiri kyokka. Ekibiina kyonna ekigenda okujja kigambe nti ffe nga ffe tugenda okujjako nakyemalira baba bakusudya. Muba mulina kwatagana mwenna. Ate si bibiina byabufuzi byokka, tuli wano nga bakulembeze naye muli eyo bannayuganda bangi nnyo abasobola okwekolamu omulimu. Mugende mu maaso nga mwekolamu omulimu, tubawagira mu buli ngeri yonna. Nammwe bannayuganda, munnayuganda yenna abaako kyayita, abaako meseji gy'abatuusaako nga yakuzoganya Museveni mumwegatteko, naffe tujja beegatta. Kate naffe bwe tubayita mutwegatteko tukolere wamu sobole okwejjako nakyemalira basebo ne bannyabo. Mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the President of NUP. Before I invite the next leader, I want to recognize the presence of leader of the opposition in Parliament, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga. Also to recognize the presence of the Chairman JEEMA, Elder Haji Muhammad Mayanja Chibirige, my colleague MP Chamswa, the Honorable Moses Kabusu. May I now invite the President of JEEMA, the Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, because I failed to limit the time for the ones who spoke earlier. I am now powerless.
Ate weeralikirira ssebo. Bakulembeze bannange, nja kusooka n'olulimi lwensinga okutegeera, Oluganda. Lwesitegeera bulungi Oluzungu lwenja okusembyayo. Ffe tuli wano nga aba JEEMA kukakasa era kwegatta ku kiwandiiko ekikoleddwa era nekisomebwa wano olwaleero. Era nga twagala kuwa bweyamu nti ebiri mu kiwandiiko ekyo byonna tujja bikolerako. Ennaku zino waliwo ekintu kye batera okuŋŋamba tekinsanyusa. Bagamba nti Basalirwa kati ye pulezidenti w'ekibiina mu opposition akyasiiza okuwangaala ennyo. Bano bonna abaliwo bansanga nga nkulembera kibiina. So onduddewo nnyo. I am the longest serving party president of an opposition political party in Uganda currently. No, Kenny Luchamuza was earlier than him, I remember. Naye ate mu kulwawo nnyo nfunyemu ebyokuyiga bingi. Kakati enteekateeka zino zonna zizze zibeerawo nga nziri wakati. Okuviira ddala eri wansi tuli mu IPFC, tuzaawo tuli mu IPC, tuli mu FOC, tuli mu 4GC, tuli mu TDA, tuli mu People Power, nga Basalirwa wendi. N'olwekyo bino byonna bye tulaba wano ebikolebwa tubibaddemu, naye ate ebbanga lye tubimazeemu eggwanga lifunyeemu. N'olwekyo nja kwebaza bakulembeze bannange olw'okuteekawo enteekateeka muganda wange Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ne ttiimu abalabye obwetaavu okulaba nti tuddemu tutandike okukwatagana ng'era bwe tubadde tukola ebbanga lyonna ku lw'obulungi bw'eggwanga. Emabega eyo tubadde tuyina nnyo essuubi mu bululu obuddibwamu by election, si kyekyo? Ng'era bwe bagamba nti wagenda kubeerawo by election mu Uganda wonna nga waliwo essuubi nti by election eyo ab'opposition bajja giwangula. Naye eryo essuubi ligenze likola ki? Liggwaawo. Twakiraba Omoro, ne tukiraba e Kayunga, tukirabye e Soroti, n'ewali awalala we wagenda okubeera sirowooza nti eryo essuubi likyaliwo. Kyova olaba nga enkola eno oba enteekateeka eno nnungi nnyo kuba ejja kutuzza ku mulamwa ogw'okumanya ensi yaffe gy'eraga. Finally, I am here to confirm that as Justice Forum, we fully associate with the statement or document that has been read today, that has been signed by leaders of political parties and formations that are gathered here. We commit to fully abide by both the letter and spirit of that document, because it is our considered opinion that that document represents the future of this country. I want to invite colleagues to remember that in the recent past, each time we have had a by-election, it was a sure win for the opposition. But that possibility every day is waning, is disappearing, is dissipating. That means the need for us to come together, to discuss, to engage for the future of the country becomes necessary. It is now absolutely clear that Mr. Museveni and the NRM are provoking Ugandans. When you see what happened in Soroti, it is total provocation. What happened in Kayunga is total provocation. What happened in Umoro is total provocation. Now, these provocations, by the way, are deliberate. And they are intended to send a message, let's do this after all. What will they do? I think this is the answer. So whoever thinks they are going to provoke Ugandans, and we shall sit aside, I think this is a very big lesson. I want to remind you, colleagues, that even us leaders can be vulnerable. But as the call has been made, this struggle must be owned by Ugandans. It is you, the Ugandans, that must take this struggle ahead. In the countries where there have been change, I will ask, and I'll talk about a country where I have been, or where I was several times before the revolution, Libya. I used to go to Libya almost every year because there used to be events there. There was no opposition in Libya. It was not there. Who among us journalists here can tell us who was the leader of opposition during the era of brother leader Muammar Gaddafi? Who? Because Gaddafi was the imam, was the leader of the opposition, was the mufti, was everything. But time came, the people rose up, even without leadership. In Tunisia, this young man who set himself ablaze, he was not a member of any political party. So that should be able to tell Ugandans that when it comes to reclaiming your country, when it is about your country, you must take charge without necessarily looking at us, the leaders. We will be present, we will provide the leadership. But if you think we are taking you to the wrong direction, please reclaim your country, because after all, this is about you, this is about Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President of JEEMA. You see, Soroti was very interesting. At a polling station called Akum, Catholic Church, the people they sent to arrest FDC agents didn't know them. So they also arrested an NRM agent. An NRM agent, his name is called Mwoku, Michael. He has been released on the same bond with FDC. They discovered that even there they had arrested. So that's how rampaging these people were. May I now invite the president of PPP, and then we will be concluding this press conference.
Thank you very much, Honorable Semju. Fellow leaders, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what I'm going to add on what my fellow leaders have said, but I will just make a few comments just to augment on what my leaders have said. First of all, I want to thank Honorable the President of NUP for this initiative, because this has been long overdue. This has been long overdue. We have been talking about it every day, every time. But because of these differences and those differences, every initiative that has been that we have been doing to make sure that we come together has been in vain. So I want to thank you very much that at least today you have managed to rally us and brought us together here. But I also want to thank Dr. Besigye. You know very well that in the recent past, Dr. Besigye, Honorable Mr. Alwega and others took the initiative to try to rally us together. They invited us in meetings. We sat in meetings until we reached a level of signing a memorandum of understanding to work together, where People's Progressive Party did not sign because our point was that We cannot claim to be uniting when National Unity Platform, which is the biggest party now in the opposition, is not part of the unity. So we thought that it would be relevant if we came together, National Unity Platform, FDC, DP at that time before they joined the eating group, we thought that we would be together to have a formidable group, a formidable formation that can shake this dictatorial regime. Honorable Basalirwa has talked about previous initiatives to come together. I have been part of almost all those initiatives, Honorable Basalirwa, as you remember. Since 1996, some of us have been part and parcel of the fight to liberate Uganda from this dictatorial regime. But what is it that has failed all these initiatives? We must ask that big question. Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, Dr. Besigye, all other fellow leaders, we must ask a big question. What is it that has failed all the other initiatives that we have tried to put in place? For instance, there was a time when, I don't know whether it was IPFC, where they were going to sign a memorandum of understanding, and one of the party leader did not turn up. So, to me, this honesty is what we must deal with if we are to unite. This honesty is very, very important, is the key in everything, more especially in the political struggle where you are fighting a dictator who can at any one point in time can infiltrate the group and use some elements within the organized groups to disorganize the group. So honesty is very, very important if this initiative that we have started shall progress. So it's very, very important. I also want to augment another point. We are all politicians here, but there are some bodies, professional bodies, religious bodies in this country. Where are you? Where are you? Journalists, where are you? This message we are conveying is not about politicians alone. Where are you? This is about your freedom. This is about liberating your country. Being a journalist does not mean that you are supposed to be neutral in each and everything. In developed countries, some newspapers, some TVs affiliate to some political, parties. You must have a cause as, professional bodies. In countries like Sudan, when they were chasing away Bashir, all professional bodies, law societies, journalists, every, professional body came out and went to the street. At one point in time here, when there was no walk to work, it is Kasita that wrote a letter to government to come and, and disperse the crowds that had come to participate in walk to work. Now, where are they? All their businesses have crippled. Nobody can now do anything, but because at that moment in time they thought that it is only the politicians who are being harassed or are being persecuted. Now it has eaten everybody. So I want also to call upon all of us, because here in this country, when they are touching on Batembei, those in Owino claim that no, for us we are not in Owino, it is about Batembei. When they are touching on border people and they are trying to demonstrate, the Owino people claim that for them they are not riding borders. When are we going to come out together that what is touching me is touching him and it is touching this one? That is what we must do to make sure that we create a critical mass In fact, our participation in these elections, as Honorable Kyagulanyi has just said, is not about winning alone. Because what Museveni is doing is to create apathy amongst our population, creating apathy so that we no longer participate in that election. That is what he is trying to do. You are saying that he is provoking us. No, he is deliberately creating that apathy so that at the end of the day, the population shall resign and say, we should not participate anymore. Our participation is to try to create a critical mass, and we must continue participating, it doesn't matter what, so that we build that critical mass that shall ultimately do what Dr. Besigye is saying. That is what took Museveni in the election of 1980. He knew he was not going to win. He knew. But he participated to create a justification for him to go and do what he did. So our participation is majorly to try to build that critical mass, and we must continue doing that. Just like I said, everything has been said. I'm just echoing, I'm just augmenting some of the points that my colleagues have just, elaborated well here. But how can we work with the Electoral Commission? I was talking to Honorable Kyagulanyi here, and I was giving him a scenario. Here we are talking about Omoro, we are talking about Soroti. But you remember the time when Honorable Kyagulanyi was arrested in Luuka. When the Chairman Electoral Commission was asked whether he knew what was happening in Luuka, he said for him, he did not have a DSTV at home. Therefore, he could not see and witness what had gone on in Luuka. Can you imagine where such an institution that is supposed to be the presiding officer in an election, somebody comes out in a joking way and say, for me, they had cut me off the DSTV and I could not see. You remember the consequences of his arrest, where hundreds of people died. Here is a lawyer, a senior lawyer, whom you think that at one point in time sanity would prevail. But he is saying he didn't see. So we must make sure that we rally together to force this dictatorial regime out. With those few remarks, mbadde ngamba nti nebaza Honorable Kyagulanyi okutuleeta together. Kino tubadde tukirwanirira nga tukirwanirira ebbanga lyonna. Ate era nebaza Dr. Kizza Besigye, Mr. Mukaku ne banne, kubanga kino bo baali bakitandikako dda. Naye bwe bakitandika abamu ku ffe twakirimu. Naye bwe baali basayininga twawaga nti nedda tetujja kusayininga, tujja kuba observer era tujja kukolagana nammwe. Era in fact, Mr. Osinde here. Mr. Osinde, can you stand up for recognition? This is a PPP member who is an administrator in PFT initiative. So we have been working with them. Naye twe twasayininga nga tubagamba nti kyetaagisa ffenna tubeere wamu. Era natwala omutawaana okusinkana Honorable Kyagulanyi emirundi egiwera nga njagala tugende okwegatta nga ekibiina ekisinga obunene mu ggwanga eky'opposition mu kwegatta omwo mwekiri. Ndi happy, ndi musanyufu nti olwaleero Honorable Kyagulanyi akikoze ne tusobola okwegatta. Mbagambye nti ffenna mu Uganda tulina obligation okulwana luno olutalo. Mwe abamawulire mwe mwennyini muli part and parcel of this struggle. Muleme kulowooza nti mwe mujja bujja ku reportinga bye twogedde. Namwe mulina obuvunaanyizibwa okuddayo bino ne mubyamplifyinga ate ne mubigaziya n'okutusinga kubanga muba n'obudde bungi. Bwe baba babonyaabonya abamawulire, babonyaabonya banabyabufuzi, namwe mukola ki? Namwe mbeeramu. Mu mawanga agaakula empapula z'amawulire zibeera ne sayidi. Toyinza kubeerawo ng'oga nti nze ndi ku fensi siina wendi. Si kive professionally okulaba nga abantu banyigirizibwa naawe n'okola ki? N'ofuna sayidi. Tukubira professional bodies, Uganda Law Society, bayinginiya, baani, abantu abali mu business, kino tekirina gwe kitajja kutuukako. Bakasiita olumu bawandiika ebbaluwa nga bagamba mbunna abajja mu kibuga okwekalakaasa bagenda kwonoona emirimu gyabwe. Olwaleero bakasiita bagamba nti tewali akola bizinensi ekyakola, zonna zaakola ki? Zaagwa. Naye nga baali balowooza nti kwolwo ba protectinga ki? Bizinensi zaabwe. So tubakubira omulanga. Bannaddiini, ebintu bisobola bityo okugenda maaso Essoroti ebifaanana bwe bityo. Ne tutalaba babishopu b'Essoroti nga bavuddeyo okubaako kye boogera. Ebintu bigenda bitya maaso Amoru, ne tulaba bishopu be Amoru nga bavuddeyo okubaako kye bakola ki? Kye boogera. Yes, waliwo abavaayo okwogera. Naye twagala tulabe ku maloboozi ng'agaba Kadino Nsubuga, ng'agaba Bishop Kawuma nga gavaayo. Kubanga kino ekigenda maaso bwe kinaagenda nga kyeyongerayo, n'abagoberezi tebajja kugenda mu ki? Mu kyaki. N'ebigambo ebyo njagala kubeebaza kuwuliriza, naye na kubagamba nti eno message egende, ate egende ne wa President Museveni nti luno lwe tutandise tetugenda kudda mabega. Mwebale kumpuliriza.
Thank you very much, President of PPP. I want to invite the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is our leader in Parliament, to commit on our behalf, those of us who do work in Parliament, and then I will advise what we'll do next.
Thank you, Comrade Ibrahim Semiju. Our party leaders, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. The representation here from the different political party leaders summarizes the sentiments of the people and the frustrations of the leaders. Now, sometimes you can be joined together by your goals, but also your frustrations. I think all of us have in a way tested how frustrating to work as either a loner or as a divided group, but pursuing the same goal. I'd like this evening, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, to initially thank our leaders for this noble initiative. The cause for a better Uganda can only serve the purpose of joining all of us, regardless of roots, regardless of individual pursuits, regardless of whether we actually are friends. The duty to serve Uganda must, as of necessity, bring us together. And I'm glad today to speak on behalf of members of Parliament from the opposition. Although over the last couple of years, days, I'm still wondering whether I'm still keeping my 9 members that were mortgaged within by the landlord with the mizigos he sold. So, but probably I'll have a meeting with them over the week to confirm their allegiance to the common cause. Omanyiti wali kizibu nga landlord kutundira mizigo n'agamba nti n'abo mbakuweereddemu abapangisa kola ky'oyagala. But I would like to most heartily thank you, our leaders. It's not an easy job for us in Parliament when the foundations from where these members come from are divided. It's an easier job for me to do and enforce my duty and my role as a leader when the roots are firm, when the foundations communicate. And I'm glad today I can crack the whip if anybody veers off the cause of unity of the parties in and outside the Parliament. I want to thank you most sincerely. And I would like to use the same platform to extend the same clarion call to all and sundry that we are not aliens in this country, and that all of us have a duty. And all of us have a capacity. The capacities can vary, the abilities can be different, but all of us can make a contribution to make this country a better country, and that we can actually summon our little energies to make them really bigger energies by working together. Thank you so much for this initiative, and I can pledge and promise that I'm going to rally my troops to move with this initiative. Thank you so much. Mubufunze okwebaza obuyiiya buno n'obutetenkanya embeera eno embi ennyanja embi eno etukwasa ku nkanaga tukkiriza nti buli kimu tukikoze ekibadde kibulawo kwegatta amaanyi gano era njagala kusuubiza ku lwa bannange mu paalamenti nti nange omulimu gwange gujja kwanguwa nga tewali yeebuzaabuza ekimuganya okutambula naffe agenda kusooka kulinnya motoka yaddeyo ku kitebe yeebuuze okwebuuza kwawedde musululu moja anaava ku mugendo anaaba atambula lugendo lwe tumwagaliza olugendo olulungi n'ekiwummulo eky'emirembe gy'anaaba alaze obwa namunigina ebitusoomooza bingi ne mu bunafu bwaffe sekinnoomu waliwo amaanyi mangi nnyo abanafu bwe beegatta bafuna amaanyi titubeerangako banafu ffe twenyooma olwaleero tufunye omukisa okwejjukiza nti amaanyi gaffe mangi nnyo bwe tugasaasaanya tuwa omulabe omulafu lubojje n'afaanana ng'ow'amaanyi n'olwekyo njala kubasuubiza mwenna ne bannayuganda abali eyo nti ogwange ng'aduumira ttiimu eri mu paalamenti nja kugutuukiriza twabeewo yeebuzaabuza nti akyamala kudduka kwebuuza twamaze dde okwebuuza kutambula ffenna mbasuubiza okutambula ne ttiimu eno n'ababaka bonna era ngenda kubayita mu bwangu ddala mu caucus ey'ababaka ba paalamenti aba opposition okubategeeza nti alina kyagamba kye tukoze kikyamu awanike omukono tumwerekere eka mwebale kumpuliriza.
Thank you very much. We've done more than 2 hours. We are supposed to have questions. Now time can't allow. May I invite the chairman of JEEMA to give us the closing prayer.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.